This boat is almost ready to meet her owner. She's been several years in the making.
This is one of the first times that I've seen the yacht come together and be in action sea trialling. This is a pretty exciting moment that we're witnessing now. There are 3 main stages of a yacht's early life: launch, sea trial, and delivery. But perhaps the most important of those stages is the sea trial, because it gives the owner and the shipyard the chance to monitor things like speed and performance, handling and seakeeping, and most importantly, of course, safety. But what exactly does a sea trial look like? To find out, we've come to Chioggia, close to Venice, to see Ocean King's Doge 400 and put her to the test. Let's see how she performs.
Ocean King is part of an historic shipbuilding site here just a stone's throw from the beauty and charm of Venice. In our first episode from this special series on Ocean King, David actually explains a little more about the yard and how it specialises in really hardy seafaring yachts with a distinct luxury edge. The Doge 400 is no different. She's been several years in the making, and after all of this hard work, she's now in the very final stages of her construction cycle.
So this is a pretty exciting moment that we're witnessing now, because for a lot of people who've been working on this project for the last few years during the construction, this is one of the first times that I've seen the yacht come together and be in action sea trialling. So on board now we have obviously a lot of people from the Shipyard, from Ocean King, and also a lot of people from RINA, the Classification Society. So RINA stands for Registro Italiano Navale, and I only know that because I moderated a panel for them a little while ago. But if you've been watching David's videos for a while, you may have heard us talking about RINA, but maybe you don't know exactly what they are. So Classification Society, they mostly class yachts in Italy and in Turkey, but they do also class Northern European builds as well. And it's their job to check the yachts are safe, and they set certain standards for yachts, and they really keep the shipyard and the designer in check. So, for example, if you're the client and you come to a shipyard and you say, okay, I want a staircase that goes from the top of the yacht down to the bottom, but I don't want any kind of banister, it would be up to RINA to say, okay, yeah, we can do that, or no, you can't do that, or you can do that, but we're going to have to introduce X, Y, and Z to make it compliant. So that's one part of their role. The other part is they come on board periodically, so if any modifications are made throughout the yacht's lifetime or certain periods, so I think 5-year class surveys, they'll come on board again, do the inspections and check it's still up to class. But today, they're actually on board for something a little bit different, so let's go check it out.
Today, RINA is actually on board to decide if the Doge 400 is ready to receive IMO Tier 3 certification. This is another common phrase you hear a lot in yachting, but what does it actually mean? I spoke to the project manager to understand a bit more, and he explained to me that MARPOL, which is the International Convention for the Prevention of Pollution from Ships, is the determinant of which level of compliance a yacht gets. This might sound a bit dry, but stay with me because it's actually quite interesting. So up until about 2021, most yachts were IMO Tier 2 as standard, meaning they released a certain amount of nitrogen oxide emissions that were deemed acceptable. At Tier 2, emissions were around 14.4 to 7.7 grams. But Tier 3 certification confirms that the yacht has significantly fewer emissions, ranging from 3.4 to 2 grams. Tier 3 certification isn't a necessity to have, but it's always good to be in line with the latest regulations. It's also, of course, better for the planet and may also help with increased cruising flexibility in the future if more regions with fragile or sensitive ecosystems decide they won't allow yachts deemed to be too polluting to cruise there.
And the way that they're going to reduce those pollutants is with a system that's just below me in the deck just below. And it is called an SCR, or Selective Catalytic Reduction. And it's basically a very similar system to what you'd get in your car. So it takes the exhaust that the yacht produces and treats it using a chemical compound. And then that means there are fewer pollutants, and then it releases that into the atmosphere. Now, what the team at RINA are doing, along with some third-party engineers who are also on board, is they're down there now actually monitoring, looking at the systems, looking at what the electronic codes are saying. And hopefully they'll be able to sign off and say that yes, this yacht is IMO Tier 3 compliant, and the yacht will then be delivered with that certification.
But this is, of course, a very specific kind of sea trial. Not all sea trials for superyachts are testing for environmental compliance.
So first of all, what is a sea trial? So a sea trial is testing the boat under controlled conditions, but they don't wait for a flat, calm day. As you can probably tell, it's pretty windy today. And there are several different sea trials. For larger yachts and for full custom vessels, they tend to do a few more, spaced over a longer period of time. But for smaller yachts and production models, they just do a few, maybe 4 and 5. And each sea trial tests something different. So things like maneuverability, navigability, all the system tests. And it always happens before the boat is actually finished and complete. So you'll be able to see this boat is not ready yet, and there's actually still construction work going on as the boat is being sea trialed right now.
So if the boat is still technically in build, but is also close to completion, what does the interior look like?
So as you can already see, the interior design is shaping up to be beautiful. And if you know me, you know I love an interior design with lots of loose fittings and sculptures and artwork. But on a sea trial, the crew take really great care to make sure there's nothing loose that can fly around. So obviously when you're trialing the boat, you're really pushing it to the max and you're doing some quite tight maneuvers, tight twists. You need to make sure everything is nailed down. And you can see that in this boat here.
So there you have it, with the engines already tested and the shipyard having already trialled the stability, the fuel consumption, range, acceleration, propeller loading and engine RPM, this boat is almost ready to meet her owner. The yard also tested the calibration and performance of the systems, and they've said everything was in order.
So we're just heading back to port now after a lovely few hours sea trialing around Chioggia. It's always very nice coming to a place that's very beautiful, and actually this afternoon we're going to head into the town and city and explore a little bit more. But we had a great time on the water, so as well as testing for the emissions, we also did some anchor operations and also some maneuverability, so doing some quite nice tight turns on the water, which was really fun. Really hope you enjoyed this video. Next time you see this yacht, she'll be completely finished. Actually, the owner is hoping to take delivery in a couple of days, so everyone's working overtime to get the boat done. And you will probably be seeing the boat, hopefully either in Sardinia or at a boat show. So do stay tuned, there'll be a new episode dropping soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a comment, and we'll see you next time.